Hey everyone, first things first, with these studio lights that I have in my living room, it gets really hot in front of the camera. I have my air conditioning running. I know in some of my older TikTok videos the sound of my air conditioning was a little loud. I hope maybe it's a little better on this YouTube video, but I'm not going to know until I'm on my computer playing it back. So if it's really loud and annoying, apologies in advance. Now, if you've been following me on TikTok long enough, you know that if you ask a really good question, I'll respond by a video. But if you ask a really good question, I'll come here on YouTube where I have much more time to get more in depth and give you a better answer. So, somebody on TikTok asked me how to find a growth stock, and that's a really good question, and there are two ways that I'm going to cover in this video, and then if you want to leave comments below how you find growth stocks, please do, and if they're good enough, I'll update the video with a follow-up. Obviously, the easiest thing you can do right off the bat is go to your friend Google and type in Best Growth Stocks 2020. That's exactly what I did before this video, and a lot of articles came up. Now, I'm not going to go too much into it, but I am going to read off this one article that I found called The 7 Best Growth Stocks for 2020. And here they are: Amazon, Facebook, Google, Fiverr, Slack, Microsoft, and Activision Blizzard. Now, you might be looking at this going, whoa, whoa, whoa. Amazon, Facebook, and Google are growth stocks? They've been around forever. Big picture, if you really look at the stock market as a whole, companies like Johnson & Johnson have been around since the 1800s. So a company like Facebook, which went public in like 2008, is still a relatively new company. I mean, most of these companies are relatively, in fact, I'm 35. I'm older than a lot of these companies. So big picture, we're just at the very beginning of what technology is going to do. I mean, if you think about Amazon, just even 5 years ago, ordering a package on Amazon was agony, right? You had to order it. It would say, oh, your package will be shipped in 7 to 10 business days. Then it would ship. Then you'd have to check every day for the tracking and the update. It was just agony. Nowadays, with Amazon, you buy something and the very next day, you get a text message telling you that the Amazon delivery truck is 10 houses away. 8 houses away, 4 houses away. So when you think about it like that, how technology is advancing faster and faster, it's easy to see how some of these companies are still considered growth stocks, even though they've been around for 20 or 30 years. Now, one of the things you want to pay attention to when it comes to growth stocks is that, and not necessarily with the big names like Amazon, Facebook, and whatever, they're going to have revenues. They're going to have profits. They might have some debt, but they're not going to have as much because they are incredibly profitable. Typically, though, with growth stocks, it's much more common to see companies that don't have revenues, that aren't profitable. So when you're going through the balance sheets, what you want to do is you want to look and see if they're having an increase in revenue, or if they are, in fact, in debt, where that debt is going, right? For new companies, debt is usually a good thing because it shows that they're taking on money to grow, to expand, to hire, to innovate. Those are all really good things. So when you see debt, you shouldn't necessarily be freaked out. It's in companies that have decreasing revenues and mounting debt, maybe they're cutting a dividend, that's when you start to worry about debt. And by the way, since we're on the topic of dividends, growth stocks don't usually pay dividends. Now, I know Microsoft pays a dividend, and they're on this one list as a growth stock, but Microsoft is different. Usually growth stocks that are new, that are building, that are expanding, don't pay dividends because they would rather keep that money and invest that money back in the company than give it to you, the investor. Case in point, we've got 2 companies on our list that I do want to address. Slack, one of the things that you want to pay attention to when you're researching growth companies is something called projections, right? So when a company comes out with their earnings call, it's important that you listen to it or at least read the report. One of the things you want to see in a growth company is their forecast for the following quarter or the following year, whether they're projecting an increase in sales. That is, by definition, a growth stock, something that is new and growing and building and expanding and innovating and seeing revenues increasing year after year. So when it comes to a company like Slack, which is experiencing a huge Zoom-esque boom because of coronavirus, one Wall Street analyst expects 36% revenue increase for Slack in 1 year. That's pretty significant. That is a growth stock. And to the point of profitability, Fiverr is another company on this list, and they are not profitable. But that's okay, because it's a new company, it's building, it's growing. Now, when you think about Slack for a sec, or when you think about Fiverr for an example, as a growth stock, you want to analyze it from multiple lenses. So one of them is, we've got a lot of people pushing their own side hustles now, right? Through Printful, through Shopify, through Etsy, Pinterest. People are crafting, people are making, building, selling stuff on eBay, selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace. And they might be the best candlestick maker on the planet, but maybe they suck at coming up with a logo. Maybe they suck with coming up with a brand name or a website or a search engine optimization. That's where a company like Fiverr benefits. But they don't benefit just for the innovator. They benefit for the graphic designer, for the layout guy, for the website designer, for the logo guy, for the name guy who can come up with really good names. So you've got, and that can be their side hustle. So everyone with side hustles is coming together on Fiverr going, I need a logo. I can make you a logo. Let's go to Fiverr. So while they might not be profitable now, long term, it's potentially profitable company that you might consider investing in. Now, one of the things that I want to talk about, since we're talking about these companies here, is the fact that I'm not a licensed financial advisor or broker, so I can't tell you what to buy or what to do with your money. But I wouldn't want to anyway. See, that's not the point of my channel. The point of my channel isn't to tell you what to do with your money, what to buy and what to sell. The point of my channel here on YouTube and on TikTok is to teach you to become a self-sufficient stock trader. So you don't need to go around asking people. And so one of the things that's important when it comes to this list, and one of the things that I want you to do, is when you Google top growth stocks for 2020 or whatever you type in, have your pen and paper out and read every single article that you can. And write down every company. This is what that website says. Here are the 5 growth stocks. This is what that other company says. Here are their 5 growth stocks. This is what another company says. Here are their 5 growth stocks. And then look around at all the lists and see where there are similarities, right? Oh, they all mention these 2 companies. If they're all mentioning it, chances are you found yourself a potential growth stock worth investing in. You also might find a company that's under the radar that one guy mentioned but the others didn't. That's when you want to go and look at their finances. That's when you want to go and see what their debt is, what their quarterly projections are, what their annual projections are. And you want to go on their website and familiarize yourself with the company, especially if you're planning on making a long-term investment here. You definitely want to go on and go, what's this company do? Oh, I didn't know that this company did this. I use that. Interesting. And while we're at it, writing down all the companies, one of the things you're going to do is you're going to start to think critically. You're going to look at a company that's on one of these lists and go, bullshit. No way is that a growth stock. That's good. That's good because it's making you think. It's making you look at the big picture. Wait a minute. I disagree with this Wall Street analyst, or I disagree with this guy who has a blog on finance or money or whatever. That's good. The whole point of my channel is to get you to become a critical thinker who can think for yourself instead of having to ask strangers on TikTok, strangers on you, what do you think of this? No, that's not what this channel is about. This channel isn't about, hey, what do you think about this? This channel is about teaching you how to look at it through your own eyes and find your own growth stocks and think critically and go, nope, I disagree. Oh, I agree with that. I disagree with that. So that's the first way to find a growth stock, is simply just Google and start looking. The second way is to keep your ears and eyes open to trends, to new companies. Here are a couple of examples of relatively new companies that all of a sudden became these huge growth stocks. Let's say you're at the gym and you see a woman who's wearing some yoga pants and they've got a logo on it. And you pay attention to that logo and you look over there and hey, there's another woman and she's wearing the same yoga pants. And 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 that guy is wearing a pair of their shorts and it has their logo on it. Everyone in the gym is wearing this. You go to the mall, you walk into the Lululemon store, it's packed, at least maybe before COVID, it's packed, and their gear is expensive as fuck, but people don't seem to care because it's a status symbol and we're in a status country. So nobody wants the $15 pair of yoga pants from the Gap, they'll look like a bum. They want to look rich. They want to have a higher sense of self-importance and self-worth. And so they go and they buy the higher quality yoga pants and they justify, well, it's higher quality, it's made to last, the other ones were whatever. They come up with their reason to buy the expensive yoga pants versus the cheap one. And you have now found a growth stock simply by looking around and seeing what people are doing. That doesn't always mean that it works, right? There are growth stocks sometimes that don't pan out and go nowhere. Other times there are growth stocks where you see it just blows up all of a sudden, like Peloton. Everyone is talking about Peloton, made better by COVID, and pointing to my TV because, you know, it's on the news 24/7. Peloton really benefited from COVID because everyone's at home. No one's going to the gym. Some people are afraid to go to the gym. Some people don't want to get this virus. They think they're going to get it from the gym, so they don't go to the gym. And they're staying at home and they wish they could work out. And all of a sudden, Peloton. And now you might be thinking, hey, wait a minute. Those bikes are crazy expensive. Who would spend $2,500 on a bike? I mean, if you went into my bedroom right now, you would find a collapsible bike from Amazon that was $149. I use it every night. I don't pay $2,500 for it. I paid $140. Is it the best bike ever? No. Is it a spin bike? No. But for someone like me who isn't a diehard spin fanatic, it gets the job done and it saved me a fortune compared to Peloton. I never would have bought a Peloton. It's just not in my value system. I'd rather take that money and buy Peloton stock, for example, which I didn't do, but you know, whatever. I had a friend who asked me, this is why I don't recommend stocks. My friend came to me and said, I really like Peloton. What do you think? It was $19 a share. And I said, seems like an overpriced kind of status symbol thing. I'm not about it. Shot up to 40. He calls me up. He goes, gee, look, Peloton's $40 now. At that point, I was like, well, don't buy it now. It's already had such a massive run. That's why I don't talk about stocks, right? Because from one person's opinion to the other, if he had heard me, you know, if he had listened to me discourage him from buying the stock, he wouldn't have bought it. But he went home, and instead of listening to my dumbass, he did his own due diligence, which is the point of my channel again, and he decided, you know what, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, I'm buying Peloton, and he bought it at $40, and he still has it today, and he's sitting on a huge profit, and I wish that I had listened to him. So, it's important as a trader to keep your ears and eyes open, look at the trends. Now, here's a couple of personal stories. In 2003, I got a PowerBook G4. That was Apple's top-of-the-line laptop around those times. Very expensive, very nice. And I thought, wow, what a great computer. I got to buy stock in Apple. It was $10 a share. $10 a share back then. But I had a hunch. Now, if you've seen my Apple video, I'll tag it below so you can go watch the video. I'm not going to get into the specifics of that whole nightmare, but I will post it below. I ended up getting some stock in Apple because I had this hunch. I'm looking at it. Everyone's got an iPod. Everyone's using iTunes. Everyone has their iMac and their computers. And I just had that gut feeling, even as a novice, even as someone who was only 18 and didn't know anything about investing. I thought, this is something everyone has. I want this. Many years later, Facebook has now become this huge thing. And I wanted stock in Facebook. And when they went public, I went all in. Now, I could have also gone all in on a company called Twitter, but I didn't. The point of this is you don't know which one is going to be the winning stock and which one is going to be the losing stock, which one is going to blow up huge and quadruple in price, and which one is going to flounder and go nowhere. Your best option is to diversify. Buy a little of all the growth stocks you like. Don't go all in, because I'm going to get to an all-in horror story in a second. Don't go all in. Just put a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here. One of them is going to hit, hopefully. The others probably won't over a 5, 10, or 15-year period. Maybe they will. You look at Twitter, it's not a terrible investment, but it never really went parabolic. And by what this word parabolic, I've been trading for 10 years. I've never heard this word parabolic used so much in my life. Now it's like the buzzword that everyone is parabolic, parabolic to the moon with the rocket ship and all that stupid emoji shit. I've never seen anyone say parabolic so much in my life. Now people are obsessed with it. But the point is, you have a stock like Twitter, or a stock like Apple, or a stock like Facebook, and two of them, Apple and Facebook, parabolic, just shot up. Twitter, meanwhile, never really went any, kind of went up, kind of went down, did its thing. Twitter never really went anywhere. So let's say you we're looking at these companies. You've got Apple, you've got Amazon, you've got Twitter, you've got Facebook, and you decide 10 years ago, I'm going all in on Twitter and fuck the other companies because you really believed in Twitter. You really liked it. Twitter never went anywhere, really, right? It's around in the 50s now. Maybe it's a little higher. I don't know. It's not even on my radar. Facebook is, Apple is, Amazon is, Google is. They're all on my radar, but Twitter isn't. So I would have been kicking myself if I had purchased all in, gone all in on Twitter. That's why it's important to divide it up, right? So, because you might get lucky, you might, but it's really truly luck. When you're in the moment, 10 years ago, when you're in the moment and Facebook is just becoming a thing, Apple is just becoming a thing, they're just beginning to innovate and change the world, you don't really know 10 years out whether it's going to just be a fad that fizzles or, you know, never really connects with people or is a runaway. You'd be kicking yourself if you went all in on Twitter and shunned the others. So my point is a little bit of each. That way you can sit back and hopefully one of them is a success and one of them might not be. And that's okay. The last thing I'll say before I get into my horror story is about looking around, is seeing what young people are doing, because young people tend to drive these trends. Now, there might be a trend like Snapchat, which in my personal opinion, I don't see Snapchat as being a real serious contender. I think it's a trend. I think people were hot on it for a little bit, like Candy Crush. They were hot on it, and they kind of lost interest. And that's how it goes. But you've got other companies that are really on fire. The world gets obsessed with them, and they expand, and they have massive growth. Case in point, when I was in high school, we used to go to the movies on Friday nights. And there was this one kid in my class who would unzip his backpack right as the movie was starting, and he would pull out a burrito from Chipotle. He was obsessed with Chipotle, and then all of my friends got obsessed with Chipotle. So I'm 18, I'm looking around, I'm seeing Chipotle, I'm seeing iPods, iTunes, everyone's listening to MP3s, which were kind of new. Everyone's going to Chipotle, which was kind of new, at least to me. That is how you start thinking of investments that are growth stocks. All my friends are eating at Chipotle. I'll throw a little money into it. All my friends have this Apple thing. I'll throw a little money into it. All of my friends are into this stock. I'll throw a little, and that one never goes anywhere. So the horror story is this. I used to work the front desk at a gym, and we had this member who was a little bit older, and he was really into stocks, and I didn't know anything about stocks. So he comes in one day, and he's like, Jones Soda. Jones Soda. Jones Soda. You have to go home, and you have to buy stock in Jones Soda. I'd never heard of Jones Soda, but I was like, okay, I will. He was like, it's a growth stock, it's a new stock, it's big, man. They use cane sugar. They don't use that white processed shit. They use cane sugar, and they're blowing up, and they're in the grocery store, and they've got the prominent placement in the grocery store, and then I went to the grocery store and I saw it, and I was like, Jones Soda, oh my God, that's the soda the guy was talking about. I got to invest before it goes to the moon. I went home and I bought a ton of stock in Jones Soda. I didn't do my own due diligence. I didn't do my research. And I didn't do what I'm telling you to do because I didn't know any better back then. I didn't just buy a little bit. I went crazy. I bought way too much. Now, if Jones Soda had been like this dominant soda company, I'd have been sitting pretty. I'd have been doing all right, and I would have been very happy. But most people don't get lucky, right? Most people don't hit big and get lucky. We like to hear these fantasy stories of people who hit it really big, but that's not the reality. The reality is, more often than not, people go all in on these growth stocks that they've never heard of, they've never done their homework on. They're sinking tons of money into it while they're shunning the quality companies like the Apples, the Facebooks, the Microsofts, the McDonald's, the Starbucks, the Caterpillars, the Johnson & Johnsons. These big stocks that have been around forever and will be around forever, and they're shunning all of them because they've got that tunnel vision. They're like, I'm going to get rich off of this one, man. I'm going to get rich. I'm going to buy it all. Jones Soda is, in the truest sense, a penny stock. It is still under $1. It will probably always be under $1. In fact, a couple years ago, I saw that they were at 7-Eleven in California for like a limited Slurpee flavor, and I was like, wow, never went anywhere. It's a loser. So my advice to you is, do your research, look around, see what people are doing. If you like it, if you know it, if you're familiar with it, make a small investment. There's nothing that says that you can't add to your position over time as it grows, right? We're all familiar with averaging down. right? Buying a good quality stock after it's gotten beat up for bad earnings or economic reasons. But you can also average up. That is to say, buying more as the stock goes higher and higher. I've been doing that with Facebook and Apple. I am averaging up. Every time I have a little extra money, I buy more. And these stocks are growth stocks. They're growing, they're building. So, this is now 22 minutes of me rambling. I'll try to edit it down a little bit. If you thought this video was helpful, if you liked it, please like, please subscribe, please follow, please hit me up on TikTok. If you ask a really good question, I'll come on here on YouTube and I'll ramble on. Thanks for watching and have a good night.